30 years, the North American Roller Hockey Championships have been providing the premier roller hockey tournaments in the sport. Thousands of teams from all over the world have competed in hundreds of events over the last 3 decades. The NARCh podcast showcases the great players, coaches, manufacturers, and rink owners that make the North American Roller Hockey Championships what it is today. We hope you enjoy the podcast and look forward to seeing you at a NARCh tournament very soon. And now to our host and the president of the North American Roller Hockey Championships, Daryn Goodwin.
Welcome to our NARCh podcast today. Coming at you again, this is NARCh President Daryn Goodwin. Don't forget, coming up very quickly is our NARCh Finals registration deadline. That deadline is June 5th to have the registration and the fee paid for the NARCh Finals. If you register after that date, we can't guarantee entry into the event, so please make sure you take the deadline serious and get your team registered. It's going to be an awesome tournament. We've got 2 great guests today. First, we're going to sit down with Charlie Robinson. Charlie is a standout goalie in the NARCh Pro Division. He plays for Skittles Hockey. And second, we're going to sit down with Jorge Guadarrama and talk about all things hockey in Mexico City. In addition, we are going to do an event there, so we're going to fill you in on all the details of that. So stick around. You'll enjoy this episode. All right, another NARCh podcast here. This is Daryn Goodwin, and I'm excited this morning to be with Charlie Robinson. Charlie is one of the best goalies in the game, suits up for Skittles, and we're happy you're here, Charlie. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you have a good holiday weekend?
I did, yeah. Spent some time on the lake with some family and friends, so all was good. How about you?
Yeah. Pretty, played a little golf with my son. A little bit low key, at least the last couple of days. But, well, let's get right into it. You're originally from Chico, and are you still living up there now? And is that where you went to the lake up there?
Yeah. So I'm still in Chico. We went up to Lake Oroville, which is about 30 minutes away. Not too far, but yeah, still here. Just working. Spent some years away from Chico, but ended up coming back after college. So.
All right, well, let's talk about your past a little bit. I mean, when you think Chico, you don't think hockey hotbed, so to speak. I mean, there have been some great players from NorCal, but trying to think when you first got on my radar is probably, 7-8 years ago, something like that. But tell me about growing up there and the tournaments you played in and representing the Firebirds.
Yeah, for sure. So I started off playing pretty young, probably 5, 6 actually. We have like a local skating rink with concrete walls and, nets and all that. So played at just rec hockey at that, at that rink for probably 10 years or so until we got an actual rink with boards. But grew up just playing youth there. Officially got involved in like travel hockey around 13, 14, I believe. Started playing goalie. So I started out at those divisions, I would say playing goalie at 13 or 14, and then kind of just stuck with it. So as far as tournaments go, we really just played like some of the qualifiers. We played the NARCh qualifiers, sometimes made it down to finals, but we had a lot of local tournaments too. They were called SIHL and PIHL, I believe. So we got to play against like a bunch of local teams, like the San Jose teams would come down to like Davis, and never really hosted any in Chico too much, but got to play against Davis, San Jose, all those. And then, ultimately, as we started getting older, we played a couple AAUs when I was, going into 18Us, and then also started playing more NARChs. So never really played anything else until after college.
There you are. That looks like it's Irvine. That must have been about 10 years ago? You're probably 18 there, something like that, or no?
Yeah, I think I would have been probably like 17 at that time.
Okay.
17, 18.
You've never been afraid to play the Plex, so that's a good action shot for you, huh?
Yeah, hey, that one worked out for me.
Yeah, there you go. Well, then you went to Lindenwood. So how did that process come about? I mean, obviously that's a school that everybody wants to go to. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that whole idea started when we went out to State Wars in St. Louis. I believe that was my junior year summer of high school. So kind of just didn't really know what I wanted to do for college. Never really was super interested in anything like business wise or career path wise. So really just kind of wanted to keep playing hockey and do my thing. Ended up chatting with them and like touring the campus along with some of my buddies from Chico actually. And then ultimately just decided to pull the trigger on that and made it out to Lindenwood. It was kind of just the spur of the moment decision, honestly. I applied to a couple colleges, got accepted to a few, but ultimately just decided I wanted to go play some good hockey. And that was that.
I feel like there's a direct underground tunnel from Northern California to the campus of Lindenwood, because it seems like a ton of players from Northern California end up there. So it's probably has a lot to do with Dave Vinoy and him knowing a bunch of kids. But you tell me about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it probably roots a little bit with Dave Vinoy. I know obviously Michael and Daniel went there. So I played with Dave a couple times growing up, mostly at like the AAU tournaments through like the Team USA and all that. But essentially, I think a lot of that probably has to do with Dave. I know the vast majority of them end up coming from the San Jose area. Obviously, with NorCal, it's a pretty close-knit community. I know they've been a lot of Mayhem players have actually been making it out there. So I think it's just, good opportunity for, anybody that loves roller and wants to go play out there. So I think it's just we've established almost like a close-knit NorCal community that have gone to Lindenwood at this point. So.
Well, it probably helps too, right? You're going over there with your buddies. It's an easier transition where, you're not going solo to the Midwest. So it probably helps to know maybe older guys there from NorCal. And then, if you are going with buddies, that makes that transition a little bit easier for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I went with one of my good high school buddies too, and still one of my good friends. So that makes it much easier to, go somewhere already knowing, other people. And then obviously the roller hockey community there as well. It's like you've immediately got a bunch of friends. So it makes it really smooth. So
you weren't on the your 7-8 year plan, right? You got in there, did your work and got out or what?
No, yeah. So I just did the 4 years. I was thinking about doing the 5 years, but just had like some family stuff going on, so decided to come back after the 4th year and just get started on work. Sometimes wish I would have gone back for a 5th, but hey, I've still got a year of eligibility if I ever decide to make a comeback. So
there you go. How many championships were you a part of?
I was a part of all 4 for the gold team. So I was backup for the first 2 behind Soa. And so I kind of led the way for the first 2 years. Then ultimately my last 2 years there, I was kind of staying in net most of the time. But yeah, I was part of all 4, and then was backing up Paul Town for the D1 team my senior year. So didn't end up playing because you can't obviously go back and forth, but definitely part of 4. I guess you could argue part of 5. I was practicing with them every week, but it was a good time.
Well, I would say I'd kind of put you in the category of a Travis Snow in the aspect that you were a late bloomer. I mean, you played a long time, but you really didn't come on my radar until you started playing pro. And honestly, part of the reason I wanted to have you on is because I've seen you so much the last couple of weeks, and you were part of something I want to discuss a little bit further, which is our overtime. But most recently you played for Parks and Rec. You guys ended up winning that tournament, but you battled a lot of adversity, especially that buzz game. That was quite the battle. You were getting peppered at the end of that game.
That was a fun one.
They had a good squad.
They had a very good squad. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of good scoring chances. I was gassed for half that game.
Yeah, no, you played great. This save right here, this is the one that I remember the most. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit. So overtime, let me explain the overtime format, what it was, why we changed it, what it is now. Originally, for many, many years, our overtime format was 5-minute overtime, 4-on-4. Then we go to a 4-man shootout. Then if it's tied after the 4-man shootout, we go to sudden death shootout. And the reason we do this at the regionals is really just to kind of keep things moving because, even in Irvine, when we had 8 shootouts, we ran like an hour and a half late due to all that. And if we were playing those games out fully, I mean, who knows? We may still be in Irvine playing those games out. It's a long process. And, qualifiers, teams travel in, not that they don't take it seriously, but it's not the NARCh Finals, it's not Winter Nationals, which is why at those 2 tournaments we have 4-on-4 overtime and we just go till we have a winner. So we changed the format to go 5 minutes 4-on-4, 5 minutes 3-on-3, and then if it's still tied after 3-on-3, then we go to a sudden death shootout. So you were part of both. You were part of Irvine in that pro game where it was a semifinal. You went to 4 minutes, then you had a 4-man shootout, and then you were part of the most recent one where nobody scored in overtime, and it went to the sudden death shootout. And I would think, I mean, you're gonna want the format, whatever gives you the best chance. That's just, it's kind of human nature, and you're one of the better goalies. So I think guys on your team are like, hey, we're fine with that first format, going straight to a 4-man shootout. In this game, honestly, it was a little quirky how it worked out because we had a penalty towards the end of the 4-man shootout. They carried into the 3-man shootout. So we played the beginning of that 4-on-3, and then they got a call to make it 3-on-2 for a full 2 minutes of the 3-on-3 overtime. So a lot of people were confused, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, there's a power play one way, there's a power play the other way. They're adding a guy, they're taking away a guy. So, for it being a brand new format, we had a lot of questions. And sort of a funny side note. So Durant, who I don't see too much, I see him at some of the major tournaments. I think good player, went off to Lindenwood, another one we were talking about, but I think he was completely confused. And when I'm watching these games and how they play out, sometimes I'll be, next to other people watching the game, and we always joke around, all right, pick a guy on each team to score your game winner. And it's just kind of a fun little thing to do. And I actually picked Durant to score in that overtime for, representing his team. I forgot who I picked for you guys, maybe Kyle. But anyway, once it went to the shootout, I walked by the bench and he was kind of going nuts. He's like, what is this? Like, what is this format? Like you just need to, and it was funny because Brian Gans was cracking up. He's just, everyone wants to win, but, both teams know each other really well. And I felt like when Durant had to score against you to keep it going, I'm like, there's no way he's scoring. Like, he's so rattled to even, like, I wouldn't have picked him to go out there at that point. I really wouldn't have. But, anyway, it was funny how it played out. You guys, you ended up winning. You went to the championships. You won the championships. But sorry to be long-winded. You tell me, what's your thought on each format, and do you like one over the other? Or?
Yeah, so I will say the one when I was playing with Parks and Rec where it went to the double OT and then the shootout, the sudden death shootout, that one was a bit more intense, I felt. It could partially be due to the fact that we were on the PK for like two of the overtime. So I was gassed. I was just glad that it was done, to be honest. But I would say that one was a bit more intense. I do prefer like a 4-man shootout or at least a 3-man shootout, just because I know, how roller goes, where it's like there could just be, one lucky goal or, one lucky save, and then game's over and you have that, long battle of the whole game plus the 2 overtimes. So I like that, but I will say like the intensity of it was certainly there. It was definitely more than like when I was with the Skits playing against Konixx and that, just because I felt like as a goalie, you have you have four 4 shooters. You gotta win the chess match. Essentially, you got to get more than the other. Whereas the one, the sudden death, it's like you got to save everything no matter what, and your team can't necessarily have your back. And I will say I was a bit lucky. I got to have the second shot on that, so I knew whether we won or not if I made the save. So that's always helpful from a goalie's perspective. But I would say I like both of them, honestly. It's just, it was weird to be, in both of them and seeing the differences. But I will say, the stress levels and the intensity of the Parks and Rec one is definitely a bit higher for me.
Well, and again, it was quirky that's the only one we've had so far. And it was a power play situation, for much of it, which was unfortunate. I think my logic behind it is going 3-on-3. More times than not, 3-on-3, somebody's going to score within that 5 minutes. And then if nobody scores, you go to sudden death, which I like because it's like it goes, all right, 4-on-4. And then it's like we wrench it up 3-on-3. And then it's just like, bam, we got to go sudden death because, again, we're on a little bit of a time constraint. And I figured from a time standpoint, 4-on-4 for 5 minutes, 3-on-3 for 5 minutes. Somebody will probably score in that 3-on-3, which is essentially the same amount of time as if you go 4-on-4 overtime and then a 4-man shootout, because it takes about 5 minutes to get through a 4-man shootout. So that was part of the logic behind it. And no matter what's in, and listen, the Buzz they should have scored 3-on-2. And let me throw something else out at you. I was thinking about the other day. It's like, what about trying to pull your goalie there? What about making it a 4-on-2 and just making sure you apply a hell of a lot of pressure and nobody gets a, clean long shot? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get enough data on something like that, but I think I'd probably roll the dice if I've got 4 guys that are just, I know are going to be on that puck. It'd be pretty hard to defend a 4-on-2 for 2 minutes.
Oh yeah. 100%. I did really like the double OT thing. I will say, so like as far as the shootouts go, like definitely prefer like the 4-man shooters or 3. But as far as the double OT, I actually like that a lot because you get to so many games where you have a battle for 30 plus minutes, and it's a 1-1 game, and then you go to overtime and everyone's playing it safe. Like I really did like the opportunity of playing 2 overtimes, and I thought that added a lot to it. Makes it just more intense, but also really lets them battle it out on the rink. So I did like that aspect of it a lot. I thought that was really cool that you added that in.
Well, I appreciate it, and again, it was very unique to see you couple weekends almost in a row. It's like, all right, well, he's the overtime king. So, and you prevailed every time so far. Knock on wood. So
I know, right?
Well, let's talk about Pro a little. Let's talk about Pro. You're obviously Skittles goalie. I feel like Grace and Yada kind of set that whole team up, and you guys are a pretty tight knit group. And I know you went from Konixx to start playing for them. How did that move go for you? And why did you make that change?
Yeah, so actually it's funny. It was kind of during the COVID year when nothing was really going on. So we had I never really talked to him. I'd played against him plenty of times in, at qualifiers, at tournaments and all that. But really how it went was Jaden Guzman actually reached out to me and kind of just asked like what my plans were for the upcoming summer. If I already had a squad or if I was going to keep playing with Konixx. And at that point, I just wasn't really sure. I didn't know what Dwyer's plan was because I had been backing up Dwyer quite a bit. And really just wanted to get in there so I could play, full tournaments in pro. I knew that I could do it and that I was capable. So ultimately, chatted with Boyle a little bit about it, chatted with Guzman a little bit more. And then ultimately just gave him, I told him I'd play at a qualifier with them, one that Konixx was not a part of. And I think that was 2022. And we played really well. All the boys played great, and they welcomed me in just like I had played with them forever. So it was just a great fit all around, and had a ton of fun playing with them. So ultimately decided to play the rest of the summer with them. and see what we could do. So that's essentially how I ended up on the skits. Just it was simple DM from Jaden.
Well, you guys, you've got a good team, a good, pretty young base. It seems like you're always in the mix. Like you're always in the playoff hunt. Many times you've gone to semis. At Winter Nationals, you've been in the finals a couple times. What do you feel like you guys need to kind of put you over the edge to be able to? Besides you standing on your head, like no offense against the rest of the team, but I feel like if you have a good game but not a great game, you guys are going to get beat. But you are capable of stealing a game. And, you've either done it before or I've seen you come really close against a couple of those top teams. But, I know you added Brett Olinger. He's a big addition to the team. Hopefully Guzman can play this summer. And I feel like part of it is you guys need more bodies. But you tell me, from your perspective, looking down the rink, what do you feel like you need to kind of put you guys at that top level?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing is probably going to be consistency with just who can come. I know it's obviously a challenge because half of those skits guys are in Canada and then half of them live in, Southern California. So, and then obviously there's a couple mixed, throughout the rest of the states. But I think as far as what we need to do to get to that next level is just consistently, like we need to play with our full squad every tournament. And then beyond that, when we play together, and when all the boys actually get together and we have a full squad, we mesh really well and everything is locked in. I will say, as far as like the second piece of that would be, just experience. I think really, like, obviously, a lot of the guys are younger, and I think it's just a matter of a couple, mistakes each game. So it's like we just make a couple small mistakes and they end up, biting us in the ass. And I think it's just really an experience thing where if we can dial those in and just make one or two less mistakes per game, then we're winning those games, especially the close ones. But I would say like those are the two biggest things, just making sure that we can have a full squad every time. That it obviously is always challenging at some of these qualifiers and Winter Nationals and all that. But then the second piece is just experience and playing more together as a team and getting more games under our belt.
Oh, well, the whole team's talented. So, that's your regional. Guys don't look too happy there, but I love Brian Foster's game. Like he scores big goals, but I feel like he gives you a bit of a physical presence too. When a lot of the guys, they're not the biggest guys. You guys are still young, so you're giving up in a lot of these battles. Guys are giving up a few pounds, to guys you're going against, like some of the Palma guys. Jaden's a bulldog too. Like even though he's small, he is super intense. He plays with a lot of fire, and I love his game. And then when you add guys that you're talking about, like Har, I know Cooper Har's played for you guys at some of the bigger tournaments. Dylan didn't come to that one. It doesn't look like either. He scores a lot of big goals. So yeah, if you guys can get everyone and carry 11, 12 guys instead of 8, I think you guys will be right there if you're gelling. Yeah,
100%. I definitely agree. I love the grit that Foz and Goose bring to the table as well. So yeah, I think if we can, this summer we're excited, we're ready to roll here. So we'll have our full squad. So I think it's just a matter of keeping that going and getting more games under our belt.
Well, should we bring up the Olinger? What the hell? We'll bring it up real quick. So funny in that regional, just a funny little side story. You guys are playing Konixx and Olinger and somebody else. It's the end of the game, not the very end, but probably 4 minutes left. Olinger and somebody else get coincidentals. They go into the box. Guzman either gets a rough or a boarding or whatever the call was. So about halfway through the coincidentals, he goes into the box. So now the coincidentals expire. And Olinger and Guzman conspire to where Guzman's the guy that comes out of the box first. And I'm across the way. I've got camera in hand. I'm like, all right, someone's going to catch this. And Guzman, to even make it sneakier, he doesn't go on the rink. He comes straight across, goes to the bench real quick for a quick little, 20 whatever. And I'm like, are you really going to pull that off? Like, did nobody catch it? He looks up at me. He's like, you got to do what you got to do, or something like that. He had some smart ass comment, and he was smirking. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how is this going? How did the guy that had the coincidental on Konixx, which I forgot who it was, but like, how did you not notice who you went in with and came out with? How did Nick on the bench didn't notice? Like, how is this? The refs didn't notice. The scorekeeper didn't notice. Like, how is this flying? And I'm thinking to myself, like, if he goes down and scores a game winner or something when he's still supposed to be in the box, like that's a bad look. And it didn't happen. The game ended 3-on-3. I went over and gave my thoughts to the referees, and they were like, they felt embarrassed. They obviously that's one you shouldn't miss. But you didn't catch that, I don't think. But it's a pretty funny story, huh?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I didn't even notice it.
So I don't know. It's probably Olinger. He's probably like, you know what? I'm gassed. You're going to go out here and like worst thing. What are they going to do? Like if they catch us, they're just going to swap us out. So, and it's a stoppage. So it's like you get through that stoppage, you go straight to the bench. Like you're almost home free. So anyway, don't try this. If you're watching this podcast, do not try this because next time I could have stopped it and I saw it and I just I'm like, you know what? They're gonna figure this out. Like I gave a bit of the doubt until they dropped the puck. I'm like, all right, well, I got a camera in the hand. I'm across the rink. It's not my place to be yelling from across the rink. Like you got the wrong guy. So anyway, I thought it was funny. It's a mistake that probably won't happen again because as a staff we've talked about it quite a bit. But
yeah,
I guess for those guys, little sneaky bastards.
So. Definitely. That's hilarious. I have to tease them about that next time I see them.
Oh, I'm sure if they listen to this, they'll crack up. But I saw them like Santa Claus. I see everything at my tournaments. Okay, let's talk about a couple other things real quick. Finals are going to be really good. We've got, I probably have 15 pro teams, something like that. You can make the argument that 5 or 6 of them don't belong in pro. They should probably be playing platinum. And it's something I battle with all the time. Like the last thing I want is Palma, Black Ice, maybe another team to skirt through the round robin without even being challenged. Like that's not what should happen. I actually give Tim a lot of credit. I think that format he came up with where it's a play-in, I think that's pretty spot on. Like that's a good way to go about doing this. But at the same time, there are a lot of good young players, guys that are off playing juniors, that are playing college, that, a lot of them from California that come home. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. So, and I think everybody who's anybody is going to be in the tournament on one team or another. So it's going to be pretty good. Is there a team that you don't want to see them until it really matters? What team absolutely has your number? Or do you not feel comfortable saying?
How's my number? Oh, I don't know. I think it just it might depend on the day, to be honest. I will say one team that I always love playing, but I never want to play them is the Konixx boys, just because I've got a long history with them, and I know that they'll battle. They'll eat pucks all day long. They'll do whatever they got to do to win, and they don't care. They'll sacrifice whatever. So I will say that's always a fun one. That it's always going to be a hard game with them. As far as, obviously all the big guys, I love playing those games. The Black Ices, the Palma, those are really where all the boys show up really big. So we look forward to those games and we love playing them. So I will say, as far as who we don't want to run into, I think it's mostly just, we try to treat every game the same. We try to just show up. I try to do the same thing. I try to just show up and save some pucks regardless of who's shooting on me. So that's like my mentality with the whole thing. I like to not think that anybody has my number, even though I know obviously, some of the guys can snipe me up, but I will say like that's, we try to keep every game the same and think of it the same. So.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to see. I mean, CarShield's obviously a great team. I was going back with George Brown back and forth this weekend. I think they're going to come. I know the Snipers were talking about coming, and now I heard from Tim that they're not, but a lot of their guys are. So I don't know where they're going to land. They probably will land with CarShield and make them even stronger, or somebody else. I know I even reached out on your guys' behalf because I haven't seen Brandon Hawkins in a while and was kind of hoping he would jump on your squad. But I know he just finished like last night or the night before his ECHL, which was a long season. I know he's having a child. So I don't know if he's going to make it out and make it on a squad. But like there'll be some surprises too. I got an email from Dave and Pablo this morning, and it sounds like Palma's going to put in a second pro team, but it's more kind of international based. I think Delfino's, at least if this roster is correct, I think Delfino's going to jump ship and play with this other team. Had Swaggy P on there, had Chucky Slick on there. So, Charles Baldwin. I mean, he lives in San Diego. So for him, I think it's just a matter of timing when he comes home. But it should be. And then I think the goalie's Lane Hartwell. So it'd be a decent squad too, especially, with some international guys mixed in. So that was kind of a nice email surprise. I think they'll be competitive, but I just, I always struggle with my philosophy is look, if you can't win platinum, like if you can't make a really good argument that you can win platinum, you have no business playing pro, because a lot of guys want to say they're pro players and, I don't know. We don't need to dive too much into that, but hopefully it's a really competitive division, and we'll see how this summer goes. And if for some reason it's not, then maybe, with a few of the teams, then we'll tell them you can play platinum, but that's it. Or we'll tweak what we're doing to try to make sure that every game's a little bit more competitive, but it's going to be good.
For sure. Are you thinking that you'll do the whole 15 teams, or is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think, unless there's a team that is like, hey, and I'm like, I know they can't be competitive. Then I, like, you take this Wheelers team, okay? They played you guys, they played decent at the regional. You guys didn't have all your guys. None of the other teams really had all their guys, and they may not have had all their guys, but young guys, competitive guys that, some guys that play a lot of competitive ice. You want to give them the chance. You want to give them the chance to compete and see what they can do. And because I think they're guys that in 4 or 5 years, they'd probably be very, very competitive. I think they're just a little bit on the young side, a little inexperienced, not unlike you guys were a couple years ago. So you don't want to turn young guys away. And like I mentioned on that podcast with Muro, I think the division is going to look a lot different in about 5 years. There are so many good players that are from 03s to 07s that are really good players that love the sport. Even some 08s, and we can keep going as time goes on, right? Like the sport's going to look different, a lot different. And take your team. You've got guys who just graduated college. Now they've got to get into their careers. Are they going to stay, keep that competitive edge and want to keep doing this? Or are they going to, get a chick that doesn't really like roller hockey that much, have a nice plush job, 10 o'clock at night, they debate, do I really want to go to the rink tonight? Or, I got an early morning of meetings in the morning, life gets in the way. So do you feel like you guys will be around a while, or you think you kind of fall into that?
I hope so. I think all the boys are committed. But I can attest to that firsthand too. Like right out of college, I got a, full-time job, and I was probably working like 10, 12-hour days. And kind of took I would say about a year and a half hiatus. And it does get difficult to balance everything. I think, we have the right group of guys that will prioritize it. So, I hope that we will continue with what we've got. I think all the boys are super talented and, all headed different directions, and they're at that age where it does get a little bit difficult to kind of balance everything, not only from like a money standpoint, but also just prior commitments and all that. So I hope we don't fall into that situation where we lose a couple guys to that. But I think we got, like I said, the right group of guys. I think all of them are committed. All of them love roller. So I don't see any of them, backing out as time goes on, but time will tell.
So with that Lindenwood diploma, what do you do for a living? Like what did that spring you into for life here?
So I got a marketing company. So I do mostly like advertising on Google and Facebook and all that. Do a lot of stuff with med spas, but I started that a couple years out of college. Thankfully, the job I had before, I got to learn a ton about like e-commerce, media buying, doing all that stuff. So learned a lot about it, but really like started my business kind of as a full service marketing agency where we did everything from email marketing to websites to advertising, SEO, et cetera. But really I've kind of gotten more specific with just advertising and pretty much solely on Facebook and Google. Here and there, I'll have some side projects, but that's essentially what I do and kind of how it came to be. But I love it. Gives me the flexibility I need, and obviously helps pay the bills, which helps. So.
Well, you missed an opportunity to plug your company. What's the name of your business?
It's CRP Marketing.
Okay, and so are you partners with somebody, or is it your baby?
Nope, it's my baby. So I started it like 7 years ago now. Grown from essentially 10 clients starting off to now we have about 140. So it's a lot. Keeps me super busy. Keeps me nice and stressed out, but it gets it's all good. I like doing it. I have fun with it. And just gonna keep trying to grow it and do my thing. So.
Well, I heard you mention Facebook. Can you help a guy out with the Facebook issue who can't get his page back, or
Man,
or what?
Man,
Let me give you the update.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I keep talking over you. So it's crazy, right? Like, I mean, I've multiple, and there are 3 or 4 people who've tried to be pretty helpful. Like, I know somebody at Facebook, and I've got a case number now, which I don't know what good that really is, but here's what I feel like has happened. At least whoever took it over, I don't think has access to it anymore, because the Jackie Chan stuff stopped about 6 days ago, which is good. I mean, I love Jackie Chan as much as the next guy, but you can only have so much Jackie Chan. And it's funny because some people are like, they're watching and they know, like I like to put, silly movie clips in with a hockey clip, and they're like, we're watching, we're waiting for the hockey clip, and all we're seeing is Jackie Chan. Like, when's the hockey clip coming? So that was pretty funny. But anyway, where we're at, for the last 6 days, there's been no Jackie Chan. Lionel, who is a contributor to the page, he got a notification. So now he can go onto the page. And so I had him go delete all the Jackie Chan stuff, but I still don't have access to the page. So you don't see any updates, but you don't see any more Jackie Chan. So I feel like we're making a little bit of progress, but we're still not quite there because I don't have control of the page. So anyway.
That's usually how it goes with anything involving Meta. It's like baby steps. Takes some time. I mean, we've had an ad account that's been shut down for 2 months, so it's always a challenge.
Do they get frustrated at you, like, hey, you're my guy, why can't you do more for us? Or they kind of understand, like, this is all farmed out and it is what it is?
No, so actually, it actually worked out in our favor. They own the ad account, and we're just added as like a partner to it. So they understand that like we can only do so much. But that is certainly a challenge. Like, I've ran into a lot of challenges where really our hands are tied, and I've called Facebook daily, yelling at them, trying to get them to do something. And every time like they weaseled their way out of it. Like, oh, I can't do anything. I don't have the right permissions, etc. So it's really just one of those things where you kind of just got to wait for it to get done. As frustrating as it is. But yeah, they've also changed. Like I've been working with them for a long time. I used to have like a rep that was really on it and all good. And they've kind of since done away with that style of rep. They still call them reps, but sometimes they don't respond, and usually they're rep for a month now rather than, long term. So a lot of changes there, but really just kind of got to fight through it and just, I guess, be patient with it, as frustrating as it is.
It is frustrating. Hopefully by the NARCh Finals, that's kind of the all right, if I can get it back in the next few weeks. It's a bummer because I use it to promote so much. And, a lot of people go to the Facebook page a lot more than they do my website or any other way. It's like, it's become so important to the business. But as you know, you're making a living doing it, right, for people. So Two other things before I let you go.
Okay.
One kind of pertains to your position. So, and I think this has more to do with the regular men's divisions, but so many teams show up with one goalie. And if that goalie goes down and they come a long distance, it sucks. And it's a bad position to be in. And as the rules kind of state right now, it's like, you got to dress somebody from your team. You can't just go, if your roster's in, you can't go pick up a random goalie. Having said that, it also would, if I'm a goalie, a backup goalie, it's like, you don't want to spend so much money and be sitting on the bench, almost hoping that a guy goes down to be able to get in a game or he has a bad game or whatever. So, I think what I'm going to do, we've touched on this a little in the past, but we're going to execute it now. I'm going to have an emergency goalie for a division. So I'm going to find, for example, someone in SoCal that's playing, say, men's gold. And if a men's platinum goalie goes down, he's the one emergency goalie that I call that can fill in for that team. We can't give a team the flexibility of, hey, go pick up this guy, because they're always going to pick up the best guy that they possibly can. But if we have a designated emergency goalie before the tournament starts, and it's like, all right, for this division, if somebody goes down, this is going to be your goalie. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually really like that. I think that's pretty cool, because I know a lot. It's obviously hard to find, like you mentioned, it's hard to find two solid goalies where you have a backup and they're kind of sitting there wanting their chance or spending a lot of money. So I like your approach with it, where you have a backup or an emergency goalie that is still going to be solid enough to play in the division, and it's going to be better than, a random player dressing up. But it doesn't necessarily let them go pick up, one of the top goalies that just, couldn't play because they had a wedding on one of the nights, or, whatever it may be. So I actually really like that idea. I think it would be really cool. And especially too, because a lot of those teams, when they're in that position, they don't have another option, and they don't really know what to do with it. So I think it's good to have that in place, as just like you said, an emergency backup. I think it will be helpful for a team that is in that unfortunate position. So
do you guys have a backup goalie or no?
Yeah, we do. Aaron Parsons, he plays for their just E1 now, but juniors last year, and he's very solid. So he's always backing me up at any of the finals or any big tournaments like that. Haven't seen him too much this year, just because it was mostly just qualifiers, and he also plays a lot of ice and coaches ice too. So he, he's kind of hit or miss with the qualifiers, but he's always there for me in the finals, and it's good because the money aspect isn't too much in play, just because he, he's already there for D1. So.
Well, and I think most pro teams do have two goalies. I would say some of those younger kind of teams we're talking about may not. So it could even be a situation, for them. But also, I'm not going to let a good platinum goalie play for a pro team, because in some cases, good platinum goalie is better than the pro goalie that they probably had in the first place. There's not that much difference between the good platinum teams and, the bottom end of pro. It's pretty interchangeable. So, I would say, just winging this off the top of my head, it'd be the same thing. It's like, all right, we find a good gold goalie that's not playing during that portion of the tournament that could, we could call up and say, hey, be here in 2 hours. And at least that pro team, they're playing the pro division. They can't dress a player. So I think it solves that. And I think this whole thing will probably trickle down to youth as well, because we have that happen. I mean, youth is huge, and we have that happen all the time in youth. And I think in that situation, it would have to be you're getting a younger goalie that's not already, like, for example, in 14U, we would have to pull a 12U goalie who's local, who's not already playing 14U, to come up, just so there's a true goalie playing for the team who lost their goalie. So a lot to think about, but, I'm just trying to make the tournament better and solve one of my biggest problems that I'm always faced with at the event. So I'm glad I got your approval. We'll call it the Robinson rule.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Last thing, real quick. I know I've gone a little longer than I wanted to, but I've enjoyed talking to you. NorCal in general, it seems like everything, I mean, I keep wanting to call it Silver Creek, but the Plex was an amazing tournament. I mean, what Jim West is doing there with all of his teams, and like even the employees, and, we've always struggled getting scorekeepers up there. Like, everyone's got like high energy level, loves the sport. I've like nothing but good vibes right now up there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's always fun there, but I will say, like, since Jim took it over, like the small things that he's doing. I mean, you got the screens on, right by the rink where you can watch any of the playoffs going, or whatever. It's just like all the small things really kind of add up and make it just a really good experience. It reminds me of like back in the day when we were doing, like when you guys were doing finals there, or Winter Nationals, like always like really good vibes, really high energy there, and definitely, kind of bringing that feeling back. So that's great to see.
Well, and it's not just that facility. It's like, you play out of Reading, right? Because Chico's close. So you play out of Reading on a regular basis. Like the Caldwell family's great. They're doing a good job. They've now got youth teams playing, even though they're truly silver teams, but that's how you got to start.
Yep, for sure. I mean, hey, that's where I started till I was, 18. So, I agree. They're doing great things out there. It's really cool to see all those kids practice before our men's league. So we all head up there, and they're practicing a couple hours a week. It's just really good to see them growing the sport and growing the community out there as well. They've got a really good thing going on with a lot of really good people involved.
Yeah, Tobin at CCSA. Same thing. They came, and honestly, it was their first tournament. And, if I'm being honest, they kind of, they got spanked. That's kind of how it goes, your first tournament ever. But talking to the parents, usually the conversation goes one of two ways. It's either like, this sucks, we're not at this level, we'll never be back, we shouldn't have came, this is awful. And that's kind of like that, quitter mentality and whatever. But everybody that I talked to was complete opposite. Like, they were cheering to get through the first half, to not get mercy rolled. And they were stoked for it. And they were like super grateful to be there. They now know about it. They're now going to go back, tell their friends, tell other players. His program, even though, they didn't have a good showing in terms of wins and losses, like they represented, and they're going to go back to their home rink, and they'll probably come back stronger for sure. So anyway, I love what's going on in NorCal. I think it's cool you're from up there and part of it all.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Hopefully we can just keep it going, keep the momentum going. I think we got the right people behind it. So,
no, I do too. Well, I won't take up any more of your day. Great having you on here. I'm excited to see you. Probably not going to see it another shootout in the next, although you are going to Bend, Oregon, right? Are you going to Bend?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Unfortunately, I'm in Spain at that time. I'm bummed to miss the Bend event. Like, we've had it 2 years, and it's one of my favorite tournaments. But I guess if there's a men's overtime game that I see on the website, I'll know who was involved in that. So
yeah, hopefully not. I don't know if my body can take it too much more. So,
well, good luck in Bend, and we will see you at the NARCh Finals in Irvine. Appreciate you being part of the podcast, and good luck. For everybody else, don't go away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Anything else you want to say? Didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No. I was just going to say thanks for having me on. It's always good chatting.
All right. Well, very cool, Charlie. Again, don't go away. We're gonna talk some hockey in Mexico next, and surprise, we're going there for a tournament. It's going to be fun. So listen up to hear all the details about that. So keep your second week in November free, Charlie, for Mexico City.
All right. Copy. I will.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. Excited about this. Next up, we have Jorge Guadarrama, and he's with Rinks MX, which is a facility out of Mexico City. Jorge has also brought some teams to NARCh the last couple events. Alebrijes Hockey Club, is that right?
That's right, Daryn.
Okay, well, really, really excited to have you learn more about what you have going there and make a big announcement. So welcome.
Thank you, Daryn.
So let's start out, like, how did you get involved in the sport? We've had a couple great conversations, but we haven't talked that much. So give me a little history.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, it happened very late in my life. I was 18 years old, and I had a good friend in school. So I just like bumped into my back with his backpack, and I asked him, like, what are you carrying here? Stones or something? And he told me, no, those are my skates. I didn't even knew that my friends skate, and not only skated. By that time, my friend was already playing for Team Mexico. So that's how I knew the sport, and I told him, please invite me. And I started at 18, 19 years old. So I had to push harder than the rest of my partners. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. so I could learn to skate by myself, because the team, when I started to play, was already a winning team. So I had to be very, very fast learner. And that's how I started to play hockey at 18 years old. Yeah.
Well, that's an awesome story. So complete coincidence, huh? Bumping into a guy with skates in the backpack. That's that's a new one. I've been around this sport a long time, and that's a new one to me. I haven't heard of someone getting into it quite that way, but that's exciting.
Yeah,
We're happy to have you.
Thank you, Daryn.
Now, did you? You're in Mexico City. Have you always been in Mexico City? Is that where you learned to play?
Well, yeah, I learned to play here. I lived here in Mexico from like 13 years old. I used to live in Argentina and then in Russia. That's why my nickname is Ruso, which means Russian in Spanish, because I lived there for 6 years old. I used to watch a lot of hockey, but never played. That's weird. So when I came back to Mexico, I met this guy, and you know the rest of the story.
So how did you go from getting into the sport at 18 to now owning the facility, which, not to ask you to brag, but would you say that's the nicest facility in Mexico currently?
Yeah, well, by far. I mean, we have a lot of facilities here in Mexico, in the country, but those are like public facilities from governments, from different states. But those are like asphalt or concrete, and without any roofing. So it's the only one. And funny story, I have told this story before. This is my second attempt. When I was 27, 26 years old, I bought a rink in Texas, in Denton, Texas. And I tried that time. I was too young, too dumb, the lack of experience, I guess. So this is my second attempt, and I won't stop till I can make this work like forever.
How are your relationships with other? Because it seems like there are a lot of people in Mexico making a push to make the sport more popular, who are trying to make the federation better. Like, there's a lot of positive movement, it seems. What other areas in Mexico would you consider on the rise in the sport?
Well, the good thing about inline hockey in Mexico is that there are at least like 20 different states with inline hockey. And little by little, I'm friends with everybody here, so we talk a lot, and we are trying to. We used to be like top players, but now we're trying to be good coaches and develop some a lot of kids, a lot of small kids. So those kids will be the future. So we're trying. The thing with facilities, it's like that's tough because when we go out, you take like 2 or 3 games, so you can get used to the flooring and the tiles and the speed and the puck. Now with Hockey Rinks MX, it's getting different because now everybody here in Mexico is starting to know how it is to play properly. So the adaptation is shorter, you know. So that's helping like a lot.
Did you, from what I understand, it seems like you've gone through a lot of upgrades with the facility. How much different is it from when you bought it to what it is now with the videos that we see and everything?
Well, in the beginning, we had nothing. No cafeteria, no dressing rooms, nothing for the public. And now, little by little, we are investing more and more because we really want this to last like for many years. So for starters, we bought new floor. The facility used to have like a sport court, but like 15 years old sport court, and now it's brand new sport court, right? And we're trying to invest in improvements every time we can. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag here. We're going to come there for a tournament on November 7th or 8th to the 10th. And I think after we come there one time, I think coming there in the future is going to be very, very easy to pull off. I've been to Mexico a lot, and I've never, mostly the beachy touristy towns. I've probably been to Cabo 8 times. I've been to Puerto Vallarta. Living in San Diego, I've driven down to, Ensenada and Rosarita and Puerto Nuevo and all, kind of the whole local couple-hour road trip to surf and eat lobster. So I've been to Mexico a lot, but Mexico City is completely different than anything like that. Like I was researching it, and the fact that it's got it's one of the biggest cities in the world with 22 million people. That's just to put it in comparison, New York only has 8 million and LA is like 4 million. So it's just gigantic. So it seems like you've got a good base of teams to pull from. But Stevie, show that video of the rink so people can see what we're talking about here. So this is a video you sent me. Yeah, place looks beautiful. And
yeah,
you said the location.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we have a very good location. That boulevard, it's like a main road that goes through the whole city, and we have like the safest area in the whole city, like 5 minutes away from the rink, which is called Polanco. There's a lot to see in Mexico City. I mean, it's huge. You have like museums, you have like pyramids like 45 minutes away. We have Castillo de Chapultepec, which is the only real castle in the whole continent. You can eat whatever you like. So I think there's a lot to see here in Mexico City.
Well, like I said, I did some research, and Polanco, they compared that to like that's like the Beverly Hills of Mexico, right? Compared to the States, it's a really, really upscale, nice area, and you're walking distance, huh?
Yeah, I would say it's very similar to Fifth Avenue. So there are many top like shopping and you can walk and you can be safe and you can be there. There are a lot of restaurants, a lot of malls and whatever. Yeah.
For the people who play at your facility, do you have a pretty wealthy clientele that live in Polanco, or do a lot of them drive a long way to get there?
Well, we have from everywhere because it's the only one. It's the only facility. So everybody wants to come play. So we have, most of our clients are from the northern part of the city. Our facilities in the northern part of the city, but they come from even from other states on regular basis, so they can train here or play here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you kind of are the you're the as Irvine is to California, you are that to Mexico.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind
yeah,
of the Mecca.
Something like that.
Okay. Well, it's only fitting we're doing a tournament there then, since we do so many events in Irvine. Yeah, I'm excited to go. Like I said, I did some research. There's a shot of Polanco, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Can you see your rink from there or no?
No, it's not that close, but it's very near. It's like 3 minutes. Yeah, literally.
Well, one of the awesome things is,
yeah.
So that photo right there. That's from one of the hotels you suggested. That is, what was the name of it? The Fiesta Americana.
Fiesta Americana. Yeah,
and that's
Fiesta
walking
Americana,
distance to your rink, right?
Yes, it is. And also we can arrange transport. The hotels, we have deals with the hotels that provides constant transportation to the rink and back to the hotel. So you won't suffer or you won't even need to walk.
What I was shocked about, Stevie, slow down. You're going too fast here. He's showing all kinds of stuff. The pyramid, like you said, that's only 45 minutes from where you're at. I forgot what the official announcement, or what the how you say that correctly.
The name?
But they're Pyramids of the Sun is what I pulled out of it.
Well, there are two pyramids, the sun and the moon, but the place is called Teotihuacan. The size of those pyramids, the base of those pyramids are the same size as Egypt pyramids. So those are really huge. And you also have like chopper trips. You can see the pyramids from above. I mean, that place is one of the best places to know around the world. Yeah, for sure.
So for everybody that travels in, going there is a must then, right? If you've never been there?
Yes.
Okay. And is it, can you go up any time, or do they charge, do you have to take a guided tour?
No, you can go up and climb by yourself, or you can go with a guide, whatever you like. Yeah.
Okay. It's not a dumb question.
Nice.
I'm traveling a lot this year, and I'm planning a trip to Italy, and some of the ancient ruins there. You have to take
those are closed, right?
Yeah. So
we have some pyramids around Cancun, and you cannot climb those pyramids because they are so old and so you cannot.
Fragile.
But these fragile. Yeah, that's the word. But these pyramids you can go up, no problem.
You get enough skater to skate down the pyramids?
You're gonna get tired though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, a couple other things real quick on this. What I was really shocked about in my research is how inexpensive of a trip it actually is. I mean, I'm a little spoiled because I'm in San Diego. So for me to get to Tijuana Airport, which is really a nice airport, I've only got about a half hour, 40-minute drive, depending on border traffic. But it's a 3-hour direct flight from Tijuana. And on those dates right now, it's like $220 round trip. So it's a very, very inexpensive trip to get there. And then hotels are, you can get them for $100 to a really nice place for $150. So it's a very economical hockey trip for people who have never been somewhere that I think is going to be an awesome place to go, which is why I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm also very, very excited. I can't remember last time NARCh got outside of the States. So this happened. This happening in Mexico City for us, and I'm guessing that for whole Latin America, it's gonna be I don't know, something amazing.
Well, and you and I talked about it too. Like, it's easier for South Americans to just get to Mexico because they don't have visa issues and stuff like that, like they do get into the States. So, since it's only one rink, we'll probably have to get creative and have one deadline for all the teams that might want to come from the States, and then open it up to everybody else from South America who might want to participate. I mean, I know for you and some of the teams playing, your local teams, you want to be able to face some teams from outside the country that you've never
That's
faced
right.
before, or would only face at NARCh, as opposed to facing other clubs that may get to your facility a couple of times a year. So we'll have to get creative with our deadlines and try to make it the best event that we possibly can. But no, I'm fired up. I can't wait to go there. But let's shift gears a little bit. So you brought teams to the regional qualifier. You brought teams to Quito last year, and you're bringing teams to the NARCh Finals from Mexico City this year. What age
Yes.
groups are going to be participating in July?
We're gonna be participating with under 6, 8, 10, some 12s, then adults, both women. We are bringing a very solid women's team. We have good girls playing right now in Mexico. They both play ice and roller hockey, and we are also bringing two senior teams.
Well, that's great. That's more than I
Yeah.
anticipated. That'll be great. And I forget the name of the women's team, but it's funny you had mentioned you don't remember NARCh outside of the U.S., but there was a women's team that came to Toronto many years ago. Probably 2006. Are you familiar? Do you know who some of the girls I may be referring to, or is that before your time?
Toronto, no. I went to Florida with some of those girls and got second place in NARCh Florida.
I just saw the picture like a week ago. I'll have to dig that up and share it with you just to see if any of the women are still playing. But I want to say the name of the team started with a J, and they were good. They weren't bad, and that was way back then. So, and they were young, so maybe some of those women are still participating.
Still playing, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, your teams, I mean, if we're being honest, we talked about some teams with Charlie, who we had on before you, from Northern California, who are kind of just getting into the tournament scene. And it seems that your teams, they're definitely at the silver level, which is where everybody starts, but they've improved tremendously just from the first time they played in Escondido, just 11 months ago. It seems like some of the kids are actually very good. It's just in Irvine, you didn't have enough kids. Like, I think they ran out of
Yeah.
gas. So
Yes.
it feels like kind of your mentality of, hey, we got to get better quick, is what you're teaching in the kids as well. Can you tell me about what you're doing to try to close the gap teams here in the States?
Yeah, for sure. Well, for starters, it is for us a blessing that we have the best inline hockey in the world right next to us, right? So it is also kind of cheap for us flying to Tijuana and then crossing the border, and then it's a 1.5 hour drive. So we have to take advantage of that. And we want to go to your tournaments at least once every 2 months, because it is the only way that our kids are going to close the gap. Because the kids train 6 days a week.
Wow.
But what is the point of training 6 days a week if you don't learn to compete? If you don't have enough tournaments back here in Mexico City? We have a league actually going on with our own teams. It is very interesting, Daryn. I'm going to tell you about it. We decided to make a youth league with some rules so that the new kids can close the gap with our best kids. So we created a system that if you are our top players, our 5 top players cannot score more than twice per game, for example. That's a rule in our youth league. And also, if you are a new kid and you score a goal, your goal counts double. and each assist counts double points. So we are trying to, and it is working, because we have 95% of the kids in that league have points, and normally it don't happen because in Latin America we don't have as much good players as you. So we rely always in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 good players, but you cannot play platinum level or you cannot play a world championship if you only have 4 solid players, a good goalie, and that's it, because you just run out of gas and you rely and you depend only on 3 or 4 guys. So we are creating things so that we have many kids playing at the same level, right? And the thing with NARCh is that the kids, every time they come back from playing NARCh or that kind of tournaments, they grow like massive. They're making big steps. So I'm really I really believe that if we keep this pace, we will be able to really compete and win medals in around probably 2 years.
Yeah, no, like
with
I said,
the facility with the
Yeah, you guys have improved tremendously, and I'm not balking at that, because I think if you progress how you progressed the last year, and the good thing is the kids are young. So unlike you and what you had to overcome at 18, these kids are 6 and 8 and 10. So, I mean, if you're 8 going against another 8-year-old, nobody's been skating more than 4 years, right? So you have less to overcome for sure. Stevie, do you have that footage of them at the NARCh Finals or no? Here you go. This is that young team that they were good. And hats off to you. That was an exciting game early in the morning. All the parents were fired up.
Yeah, it was the first game, actually.
Yeah, Yuma's another program. They're in a way they're similar to you. I mean, not exactly. They get exposure a lot easier, but they're in the basically in the desert. Most of the kids play only roller and don't play ice, and they're making huge strides too. So it's neat to see programs play each other that are all kind of on the same trajectory. But that was a close game. You just again you ran out of gas. You tried to call 2 timeouts, and I don't think you got it early in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
The timeout. So sneaky on your part, but smart.
We will get there. We will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I really enjoyed the time you spent with us today. If you got something else to share, feel free. But I'm excited to see you guys at the NARCh Finals.
Yeah, well, I just, if you allow me, Daryn, I just want to invite everyone. You're going to have like an amazing experience here in Mexico City. We really want the sport growth here in Mexico and the whole Latin America. So we are really excited about this and hope this can be like a constant NARCh Mexico City every year. That would be awesome.
I think it will become that. I'm not into, just throwing darts at a board and doing a tournament and then that's it, not have a relationship. I feel like you've got great energy. You've got good parents around you, good kids.
Yes.
You're in it for the right reasons. The facility looks beautiful. So, and I want to go to Mexico City. So there's no reason not to do it. And it's such a big place. I'm sure I'm not going to see everything in one trip. So I'm certainly down for making a very successful first one and making it an annual thing as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, we will be glad to. Yeah. Thank you, Daryn.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
We'll see you in Irvine.
Yes. See you soon.
Okay, well, don't go away. We've got one little quick segment just with some closing notes, but yeah, stay around.
Okay.
We've got 2 tournaments left before the NARCh Finals, Escondido this weekend and Bend, Oregon next weekend. Both are going to be great tournaments. If you're playing, good luck to you. If you're not playing, don't forget, finals registration deadline is June 5th. We appreciate you watching this podcast and feel free to share.